Will the doomsday clock finally strike midnight? And what does this madman of quote-unquote science have anything to do with it? The Super Bowl is coming up on February 11th. A lot of things associated with that particular day. Is it just coincidence that these two same teams that are competing this year also competed during the infamous blackout of 2013? Does this have any connection? And does it have any connection to this movie talking about NUK to the E's happening during the Super Bowl, coming from Russia, of all places? And the fact that the Chinese New Year starts the day before all this happens, and it's the year of the dragon, right? Okay, Revelation 12, the dragon. And then we've got X marks the spot happening on the same day is National Emergency Day in Finland, and they happen to have a plus or what could look like an X on their flag. A lot of X's happening lately. We know, of course, about the eclipse coming up. And then we've got this bug X that they're talking about. Perhaps that's something we should be concerned about. And also, we've got crows in Texas looking a lot like the birds from Alfred Hitchcock. All this and more we're going to explore tonight on Sunday Night Live. Oh, yeah. Welcome to Sunday Night Live. It's great to have you guys with us today. And if you're watching us out there in YouTube land, we are here live in the fellowship. You can come over here and ask your questions, participate in the discussion. If you just want to type on the side, you can do that too. We'll try to get your comments over on YouTube, but definitely we can see them quicker here in the fellowship. So we hope you'll come and join us. Just go to MikhailMinistries.com. You see right there on the screen, and you can join us live in the fellowship, and we'd love to have you. So guys, lots happening in the world. And what do we want to talk about first tonight? What's on people's radar? What are you excited about? What topic is striking your fancy the most?
I saw Oprah get knocked out by a ghost on stage.
Oh yeah, Oprah getting knocked out by a ghost on stage. Okay, yeah, I do recall seeing a clip of that. Maybe we can do a little search and see if we can find Oprah, a little clip of Oprah here. Okay, that's interesting. Yes, and what was she talking about when that happens? Anybody know?
It was something esoteric. It was kind of esoteric when she was speaking.
Okay,
of like a higher something.
Oprah ghost.
You know what just came to my mind, Micaiah?
Tell me about this, would you?
What is that little suitcase that the president goes around with? What do they call that? Some kind of... Oh, the
football. The football you're talking about. Right. Yeah. They call it the football. Yeah, that the Prez carries around in case he has to launch an NU to the KE out there into space. Yeah, good point. The football. Could the football be making its appearance finally during this time? Now there is this video, and I'll let you see if I can open this up for you. So I do recall seeing this video, and basically what happens in this video. Hold on a second. Sure, I got the right address for you here. So there's an orb that appears over Oprah's head, and right after that orb appears, she stumbles, trips, and falls down on the floor. Now, it looks kind of like she trips over her shoe a little bit, but there is kind of like to the upper right in the back, you do see like a white orb that appears over her head right when she falls down. And again, can't play the video for copyright reasons, but you can check that one out. Kind of an interesting thing. So yeah, the football, the Sum of All Fears was the movie. I remember seeing that with what's his face? Morgan Freeman and the other guy, Ben Affleck, were in that movie. And and it took place where Russia is threatening to take out America in some dramatic fashion. So that's kind of interesting as well. So the Super Bowl is happening here on the 11th, and there was a blackout with the same teams. Okay, so it's the Ravens and the 49ers that are going to be playing here on February 11th. Now, what's interesting about February 11th, as we talked about before, is that's also the day that the fig tree generation ended. If you remember, when we talked about that last time. We touched on that briefly last time as well. But the fig tree generation ended on that day, and then 13 days later is when Russia invaded, and they also invaded on February 11th as well, on the Julian calendar. It was February 24th on our calendar, but it was February 11th on the Julian calendar. See if I can get it to pop up. Oh, here it is. So yeah, fig tree generation ends February 11th. And that was kind of an interesting video. Did that back about a year ago. Over a year ago, probably at this point. But yeah. So that was a fig tree generation, and by day count, it ends on February 11th of 2022, I believe it was. Is that right? Was it 2022? I have to go back and kind of see that picture again. But yeah, February 11th, 2022. So that's kind of intriguing that the actual day counts, if you just count prophetic years, the days ended on February 22nd. So I don't know what's the connection with that. It's kind of interesting. And then you've got the in addition, we've got the Year of the Dragon starting the day before. So are they waiting to make their move until the Year of the Dragon is officially here, so that the dragon can do his thing, Revelation 12 style, and take over? What do you guys think?
Could be. They're putting on. I hear all kinds of stuff about China right now towards us. I don't know.
What's that?
I keep hearing all these rumors coming from different places about how China getting ready to do this to us, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know what's next with it.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting because it's Chinese New Year is the Year of the Dragon, and we know China's kind of involved here. Is this going to line up with what's going on in Taiwan there? Does it have something to do with Russia? Does it have to do with what's happening in the Middle East right now? And then you've got, of course, Russia perhaps getting involved with that, and the whole Gog and Magog scene. It's Turkey going to get more involved. So it's kind of interesting timing, February 10th and February 11th there as well. Other thoughts? What else is on your mind today? Don't all talk at once. All right.
I'm trying to sneak something in.
Feel free to jump in.
Everything.
Okay. Well, let me go down here and see. Feel free to talk. I'm just kind of
about the disease X. Is that one of the things that they're creating, like COVID?
Yeah. And let's be careful with those words, because we don't want to say those words on here, because they don't like it when we actually say those things. So, but call it the Bug X. But yeah, the bug. Let's see. Let's take a look at this. What this is all about, what it is and what it's not. Well, it seems like they're calling everything X. So you've got Twitter going by X. You've got this X marks the spot. That's what I wanted to bring up. Actually, Gina had some interesting insights on that. If I can pull that up real quick. Let me see if I can get this to work for me. There we go. Gina had some interesting things to share, and here it is. Okay, so she was talking about the X connection there, and she pointed out a couple interesting things. So she said, of course, Twitter's now X, and then we've got the U.S. eclipse X marks the spot. I guess they're calling this WW3. They're also calling World WARX. That's not a radio station, but that's the World WAR. You know what that is, and then X. And so instead of calling it 3, they're calling it X apparently. And then the next scam of the dem of the ick. They're calling this diz of the ease X. And then, of course, there's Planet X. We've done some videos on that before. And the Greek letter X is the 22nd letter in the Greek alphabet. That's kind of intriguing. And then we've got the numerical value is 600. So it kind of, there's a relationship with 666 here too, because that's one of the letters I believe used in 666 or something similar to it. You can take a look at that as well. So that's kind of interesting. And also in Christianity, very early in Christianity, do you want to share a little bit about this, Gina?
Well, I was just thinking of how, like, Christ, sometimes they abbreviate, the X. It comes from the Greek Christos, which means the Christ. And sometimes we shorten it to just like X, like Xmas, kind of disrespectful, but, that's kind of what's been done.
Right.
But I just feel like somebody's trying to hijack that X for some reason.
Yeah, so Roman numeral, it's a number 10. And that's kind of interesting as well. There are going to be 10 kings. We've got the X, it kind of X marks the spot, like a treasure or on a treasure map. You've got the X of the end of something, like you get X'd out, right? If you and sometimes when you have people sign their name in like a cartoon or something, they'll put an X. So there's a lot of interesting things with X. So this is interesting.
There's an X in Zenendro.
Right. That's the next one I was going to mention, actually. Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted.
So this bug X is the name. Let's see. Let's look a little closer here. It says it is the name given by the W to the H to the O to an unknown patha of the jinn that could emerge in the future and cause a serious international epidemic. Not that they're planning anything like that. It's just, they're just hypothetical here, people. Just hypothetical. It was included in their blueprint list of bad stuff for which investing in research and development should be an international priority. Right, so they're calling it's like the boogeyman. This is their name for the boogeyman thing that's going to wipe you out, right? That's what they're planning. But the great thing is we don't have to wait for it to happen by nature, right? Because they're already creating these things. Isn't that nice? So we don't even really have to worry about that part about it. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. And there are a lot of interesting. Well, the whole Christogram. We talked about that a little while ago. But the Christogram has the X in it as well. Let's see here. Christogram. See this Christogram that kind of looks like a P with an X on it. So that's also kind of interesting. And here's another one. The key row has the X. There it is. So that's interesting as well. The chi or the X. Now, it makes me think about 666 as well. Let's take a look at 666 for a second here. Got all Revelation 13. And let's see. It's at the bottom here. Number of man, number 636. Now, I did a whole video on this, kind of going deeper into the meaning of the stigma. I think stigma is that what the third letter is? But as you notice, the first one is X. There, if you can see that. So it's XC stigma. Key XC stigma. But you see there's an X there at the beginning of that. And it's the 22nd numeral, as was brought up earlier. So that is kind of intriguing there. Is this pointing in any way to this being the year of 666? That we've got 666 happening there. And we also know that this looks a lot like what they wear on the on the bandanas of Islam in the radical groups, wear something very similar to this that looks like something like Allah. It says something like Allah is God or something to that nature, and it looks a lot like this. So that's also very intriguing. Okay.
Are you sharing your screen by any chance?
Oh, you know what? I think I'm sharing it with YouTube, but maybe not with you. Okay, sorry about that. Let me make sure I share it with you guys too. And again, if you're on YouTube and you want to come join us over here and get in the conversation, I see many have. So come on over and join us. We'd love to have you over here. Just go to Makayo Ministries and we can help you with that. Gina, are you sharing something too?
No.
Okay, because I see it's something to join activity.
I don't know.
Okay, no worries. Just checking. All right. There you go.
There we go.
Sorry about that, guys. You're probably like, what's he talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Other thoughts on that?
Actually, I was thinking about the X on the map would also signify like a target, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, is this where is something gonna drop right there? Right? If you think about the X going back over here to where is the X that we had here? Second. Find it. X marks the spot. Yeah, I mean it could be kind of a target thing. Now we know that area right there is also related to Egypt. And there's some Egyptian towns like Memphis and Little Egypt, I think, is in there, and other little towns that are Egyptian related.
Oh, wow.
If anybody's pulling any questions from the chat at YouTube, if anybody has any thoughts or questions out there about anything in particular.
I'll look.
Project X. 666. Does Project X equal 666? That's kind of intriguing. Let's take a look at that. So if we do some, what is it? Gematria? What do they call that stuff again? Oh yeah, gematria.
Gematria.
Did your ma tell you that about gematria? Okay, gematrix. You hurt your what now? Hold on a second. Gematria.
And Tandra in the chat brought out SpaceX, also Elon Musk's baby there.
Oh, yeah.
SpaceX. Oh, yeah. Project X equals 666. Good catch, man. People in the comments, they got some interesting ones. Okay. So there it is. Project X equals 666. So one of the reasons they may be bringing up the 666 or the X is because that's their project they're working on. The Bug X, Project X. Interesting. And that equals 666. Okay. Thank you for that one. Good one.
One thing I remember, I just heard about King Chucky passing the baton to Prince William. That's pretty wild.
That he may do that?
Yeah, I heard a couple of announcements about it. And Dino just put it in the thing and it reminded me. I'm like, because I heard twice this week someone talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it ever since he took the throne. Even before he took the throne, people have been saying that. Is there an update on that? Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
King Charles. Just a little bigger.
I think it's even under passes the baton.
Really says passes baton?
Yeah. Because that's what they were saying it. I was watching overseas stuff, and they said, "Is it true, King Charles is passing the baton to?"
Oh yeah, as of January 3rd, he faces calls to hand it to the prince. Whoa,
that's outrageous.
Yes, it is. Intriguing. Chucky has faced calls to one day. Okay, but they've been saying this for a long time. To one day abdicate and pass the throne to Prince William less than a year after his historic coronation. Okay. 16 months after becoming king. Former UK. The monarchy is in a state of crisis in the present time. We've had possibly the worst few years since Her Majesty passed on. It would be a wonderful thing if Chucky actually said, I think it's time for a reset.
Oh, no.
Man, they just work it in there, right? Don't they? They just work it in there. I think it's time that Chucky says, I think it's time for a reset. He's been saying that, in case you didn't know. He actually has a whole page devoted to the Great Reset, and it's also on the WE to the F website as well. It's on his own website. I think it's time for me to step back. I've done my best. I've been a faithful and loyal servant, but now let's step back and let a new generation take over. So is he going to receive some sort of wound to the cabeza in some way?
They said he was sick right now. He was
Right.
falling ill.
Now, is the wound to the cabeza, is it actually the head, or is it more metaphorical? Like he is a head, he's a head of state, and is it going to be a wound to this head of state so that another head of, his son has to take over for him? Or is it that there's, some sort of miraculous recovery? That's one of those that's kind of interpreted different ways. So it's kind of intriguing to think what that could mean. So, okay, there you go. So once again, they're calling for him to step down, which they've been doing for some time now, but we'll see what happens with that. Let's see, other thoughts on this, or any of the topics we're talking about. Jump in, feel free.
But there's also King Frederick X of Denmark.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Have you ever considered why Generation X is called Generation X?
Why? Why do you think?
Well, and I've kind of touched on this previously, whether you've been around to hear it or not, who knows. In 1984, these Jewish rabbis came out and declared that the Maitreya of the world had been reborn into it. Right, the avatar or whomever, the 12th Imam, if you will, seems to all point
how do you
to
spell that? Maitreya, did you say?
Oh, I cannot spell that. I've tried. It's Miatria. Something Maitreya.
Oh, TR. Yeah, there's an I in there, if I remember. You're right.
So this person is said to come back and be like the David character in the book of Ezekiel, right? The 12th Imam, who's the one to bring peace and balance, weigh the scales of the world.
Balance to the force.
Back in balance.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when you start looking at the stars, right? I've kind of done this deep dive on stars. In early 1980, like the end of Generation X is in 1980 sometime, right? The unofficial line, but there's a line when stars kind of cross thresholds, so they call it the next generation. Generation X ends in the beginning of 1980. Prior to.
Now, is this Maitreya? Is this Buddhism? This Maitreya? Is that what you're referring to?
I see, and I don't know if it's strictly a Buddhist thing or not. It was these rabbis came out and said it. So how it correlates to all the. From my understanding, most of the religions of the world all have this character that comes in that sets the balances.
The Messiah, essentially. Is that what
the modern Jesus, if you will. I don't know how to say that. That's a terrible way to say it, but that's essentially. But in this early in March, starting in March, whenever we had Jupiter went into retrograde, you have Mars and Jupiter going to retrograde at the same time in the same constellation. And actually Mars crosses paths with Jupiter like 3 times. And then you have there's a 2-week window where Mars and Jupiter start to come out of retrograde. Saturn's in retrograde in and around the same time.
Okay.
You have.
Does this relate to Generation X somehow?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying there's this moment in time in 1980 with this Generation X that starts checking off all these boxes for this Maitreya character to have been reborn. So all the stars kind of pause in the sky for a moment, like a couple of weeks, all the stars kind of stop. And then they carry on their path. And I'm pretty sure that that's what they're talking about. But that's why it's called Generation X for sure. X marks the spot.
So you're saying it's called Generation X because of something happening in the heavens?
Yeah, essentially.
Okay. And do they form like an X in the heavens?
No, not necessarily. I mean, as stars go, they crisscross patterns, right? But why they call it Generation X, X marks the spot, is because this Maitreya characters, they're saying, has been reborn within that generation. So, and it's probably about a 2-week period of time in March and March and April of 1980.
Okay. It says here that they were the latchkey generation. That sounds about right. Just thought that was funny. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So Generation X may relate to the heavens in some way. So there's another connection to the X. The term generation has been used at various times to describe alienated youth. Okay. Interesting. It was a total photo essay immediately following World WA. The second WAR. Okay. All right. Interesting. Okay. Other thoughts? Other thoughts? Other topics? Other comments? What's on your mind? We're here to discuss it all, guys. Is nothing happening in the world? Tell me. What's going on here?
As far as the press, I've realized that, and I found out that all the genres of music that we have, the names of them were invented by the press, like punk rock. Those weren't punks didn't call it punk. Alternative, even rock, all of it came up from the press. Came up with the names of the genres of music we have.
Right,
that's how
right.
powerful it. I didn't know that. I thought we came up with it. Musicians did.
That's interesting.
Hey guys,
Well, one thing I want to mention about this clock here is that this doomsday clock, if you go back to, let's just go back to 2012, it says it was at 5 minutes to midnight. Then 2015, they moved it 3 minutes to midnight. Then 2017, 2.5 minutes to midnight. 2018, 2 minutes. 2020, 100 seconds. And then 2023, 90 seconds. So in 2 days, they're going to reveal the clock again. So you kind of wonder, like, is this all going according to script? I think we know the answer to that, but that they keep moving it up. They never move it back. It's not like, oh, let's move it up, let's move it back, let's move it in. It seems like they're always, maybe at some point they did that, but it seems like lately it's just always moving forward. Every year it moves forward a little bit more. So if we were at 90 seconds last year, in 2 days they're going to reveal it again. So what are the guesses for what do you think it's going to be when they reveal it? Are we thinking 30 seconds?
It's going to go up to like a year.
20 minutes? Right. Notice they don't give you enough for that. They only give you a 15-minute window there. So they don't even give you the whole clock. So I don't know. So what do you guys think?
I don't know. I don't know what to think about that one.
In terms
I'm dumbfounded.
how quickly they're going to do that. And then you've got the non-science guy, the poser. It's almost like that's the joke, it's not real science. That's why they get an actor to do it. So you got the actor who's going to reveal this, apparently, to announce this in 2 days on the 24th or 23rd, I believe it is. So the 23rd, we've been talking a lot about the 23rd date showing up in a lot of movies and so forth. So this is the date that they're going to be revealing the doomsday of the clock here in 2 days. And that's kind of intriguing.
Maybe 9 seconds.
9? Why 9?
Because I think in the movies it's always 9, 2, 3.
Ooh, interesting. That's an interesting twist. That could be. So 9 seconds could be the deal. I'm thinking, what else just came to my mind? Keep talking. Share more with me on this. Something came to my mind.
What letter of the alphabet is X? What letters of the alphabet is X?
Well, that would be 24, right? X, Y, Z. No. Yeah. This would be 24th. 24th letter. Because 26 letters. X, Y, Z.
I was thinking
at
23.
Least in our alphabet, but it's the 22nd letter in the Greek alphabet, which we just looked at. That's 600. So
what letter do we have more than they do?
Yeah.
Hello.
Perhaps. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Who is that?
Yeah,
It's
this is
Rick.
Dr. Rick.
Oh, hey, Rick. How are you?
Good. Hey, you guys aren't talking about the great galactic alignment, are you?
Would you like us to?
Man, that's the thing that makes the big X in the sky.
Oh, I see. Great galactic.
It's where the I guess the solar system axis crosses the galactic axis.
Okay,
It-
cool.
It realigns somehow. But it's a big X in the sky.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it says the
So I was
galactic
just wondering
alignment.
if that's what you guys were talking about.
Okay, yeah, let's look at that. So the galactic alignment is a rare astronomical event that brings the solstice sun into alignment with the center of the Milky Way galaxy every 12,960 years. So what year would that be, I wonder? Great planetary alignment.
What's the name of your icon, Dr.
She's working, like staring at
Great
me.
galactic
like
alignment of 2012.
Like she's willing me to read her mind. It's not working.
What's that?
Not working, is it?
Okay, I don't know if she's...
Did you win over there?
Okay. I think she's having a different conversation. Okay, so interesting. This is interesting. The Great Galactic Alignment 2012. So apparently it happened in 2012 already. Does that sound about right?
That's when it began, I guess.
Oh, that's when it began. Oh, okay. Right, because it's every 12,000 some...
Yeah.
900.
It has something to do with the ecliptic. I don't know what that means. But
Okay. That's intriguing. Great Galactic
it makes
Alignment.
a big cross in the sky. You can actually see it.
Really? So kind of like the Southern Cross? You can see a cross going across the sky? Let's see if I can see a picture of it.
Moves a
Here.
lot slower.
See if I can see if there's any photos of it here.
I think it might pertain to the sign of the Messiah in the sky when he talks about his
The sign of the
being-
son of the son of man, sign of the son of man.
Yeah, because it looks like a cross.
That's cool. Let's see. Oh yeah, this one does look kind of like a cross. Let's open this one up.
Yeah.
Take a look there. Oh yeah, look at that. Wow, that's cool. The sign of the Son of Man, guys. This could be it.
Well, that's what I always thought it was, but
Wow, you guys.
you never know.
You guys see that? Looks like a cross. Wow, very cool. Thanks for bringing that to our attention. Yeah, that's a great one. Let me take a look here. Sign of the Son of Man.
I'll see you guys. I gotta get back to work. So.
Okay, thanks, brother. It was good to see you, Rick. Okay, let's see here. Sign of Son of Man. Feel free to jump in, guys, if you have thoughts or things you want to talk about. Well, at least while I'm looking for things. Okay, see, at that time, the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the nations of the earth will mourn. They will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of the sky with power and great glory. That's cool. At that time, the sign of the Son of Man, at that time, so in that time period, the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the nations of the earth will mourn. They will see the Son of Man coming. Are we mourning because of the sign, or are we just mourning because of what's happening in the world? Because there's a lot of mourning going on right now, too. They will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of the sky. And, of course, we're looking for that one. That's pretty cool. So could this be the sign? It's already appearing in the sky, and there's a cross right there. Wow, pretty powerful. Thanks. That's a great find.
I never even heard of that one before. What's called the Great Galactic?
Other thoughts? Can somebody be watching the chat for comments, because I'm sure there's some great ones in there, and I can't cover them all from where I'm at. So maybe Gina or Ori or somebody, if you can guys be looking at the comments there, that would be awesome.
But I'm looking in there too.
Yeah. So Dino put, even in music, X is involved, like Green Day's X Kid.
Right. Yeah.
And he also mentioned the King Frederick X of Denmark.
King Frederick X of Denmark. And what was significant about him? Oh, look, King Frederick's first visit 8 hours ago. That's interesting. He's X. Is he X? Oh, this is intriguing. Danish royals attend church service to mark King Frederick's first visit outside the capital. King Frederick X. You're right. That's him from Denmark. And Queen Mary. And all the fam. That's all their family there, I guess. And they've left the country outside of Denmark. And Denmark's royal family on Sunday participated in a special celebratory church service at the Aarhus Cathedral as the new King Frederick X, accompanied by wife Queen Mary. So did they just do that just so they could coordinate all these X's? Like, hey, we got to get that king. Let's get that new king in Denmark so he can be X too. Interesting. What role does this guy play in all of this? It's an opportunity to go out and see the new king and my kids. Very excited about it. Interesting. Okay. There's King X. Intriguing. And that was just 8 hours ago. Danish King Frederick had an awkward and cheap vacation years before. King X. Wow. A lot to do with this X business, huh? All right, cool.
It'd be cool if we had some X-Files music playing in the background right now, too. Really.
Yeah, we kind of need some music, right? Need some music to go with all this. Maybe we'll do that next time. We'll get some music. Let's see. 777. Of course, X is Elon's favorite letter. Roman numeral 10. I'm trying to get some of the comments. Other thoughts? Go ahead.
No, I was saying, do we have to get permission for something to use that in the background?
If it's copywritten, then we would do it. But,
we could just make something.
Well, we can create music, man. We're music man.
Okay. I'll make an X-Files sound.
Okay, cool. Yeah, make your own version. Any other cool comments out there or anything people want to share or talk about?
Dino just added maybe X is like the 10th for Frederick.
The 10th for Frederick? What do you mean?
I don't know what he means by that.
For 10th, like the number 10, X10 for Frederick.
Oh.
Is Frederick, how does Frederick relate to 10? Is that a gematria thing again?
Greek letters like X equals 10.
Yeah, in Roman numerals. So King Frederick X is beginning his reign with his book titled The World of a King. That's fascinating.
Okay. But what do you mean? What do you mean by the, I kind of missed the connection there with
like King Frederick the 10th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the X means the 10th. That's all it is.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe there was something else you were trying to communicate there. Okay. King Frederick X. 144, the 144,000. That's kind of intriguing. Okay. King Frederick X. Now, I don't know if I'm spelling that correctly or not. But, there's no C in there, so I guess it would be Frederick without the C. Okay. Other thoughts, other things you guys want to talk about, other topics.
Well, that's weird that his book is titled The Word of a King. Is that the counterfeit for the Bible?
Because we only have one word who is king.
Right.
The word of a king. Oh, Ecclesiastes 8:4 says, where the word of a king is, there is power. No way. He actually took his title from the Bible. Where the word of a king is, there is power, and who may say unto him, what doest thou? The word of a king. Word of a king. So that's like taken right out of Ecclesiastes 8:4. Where the word of a king is, there is power. Let's see. Word of a king. King Frederick.
Hi, Lazarina. She just popped in. Lazarina.
Hello. Danish King's surprise book set to become the King's Word. Oh, these guys have called it the King's Word? Let's see. The King's Word. Yeah, right. There's only one King's Word. I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that. Okay. The King's Word. Okay. Interesting.
It's a little book, too. He has.
Coming out with his own little Bible. So what does the Danish king have to do with all this? The end times. Is Denmark in the Bible?
They got tired of being
He's a
noticed
king
for
of the
hate
north,
speech.
that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, that's the north.
Not sure what connection there would be. Let's see. Denmark.
Some people think that Denmark is actually one of the lost tribes, tribe of Dan.
And the mark, right? The whole mark of the beast.
Yeah,
I
and
think
Dan
I've
was
heard that.
kicked out of the nation of Israel by God.
Good point.
Some people think that the Antichrist has to come from Denmark.
Lost tribe of Dan.
But that's a little bit out there.
So there's no evidence of any connection between the Danes and the tribe of Dan, and no plausible reason to assume the tribe of northern Israel. Of course, they say that, but assimilated in the ancient Assyrian Empire would have ended up in Scandinavia. The Danes of Denmark are not from the tribe of. Well, you can't conclusively say that, so anybody who conclusively says anything, I'm always skeptical of. Dan and Denmark. Identifying the Danish and the tribe of Jan. The 10 tribes are to be found. Let's see. Western areas. This includes Scandinavia and Denmark. The land of Denmark is named after Dan, the forefather of the tribe of Dan. Descendants of Dan settled in Denmark as shown by biblical and secular sources. So they seem pretty sure that that's where they're from. Danes. Jacob begat Dan, Naphtali. The tribes were found in Scotland. Nevertheless, most of the Danes of Denmark pertain to Dan. We also find descendants. Now we know that Dan is one of the missing tribes of the 12 tribes in the book of Revelation, Revelation 7. We also know Dan is like a serpent in the path. It was
replaced by Joseph's sons. One was Manasseh.
Yeah, Manasseh. And then Joseph actually is one of the tribes listed in Revelation as well.
Joseph had 2 sons, right?
Yes, Ephraim was the other one.
So Joseph was replaced by his sons, and then
correct.
Dan was kind of kicked out.
Correct. But even in Revelation 7, Joseph actually gets a tribe there instead of Ephraim. I believe Ephraim's also missing at that point.
Oh, they replaced Ephraim too?
I believe so in Revelation 7. But Dan...
Because they never repented. He never repented.
Yeah, because Ephraim had some sin going on there too. And we talked before about the Ephraimites' connection to Chucky, I believe, in other videos. And Edom, well, Edomites for sure we talked about. But I feel like Ephraim was another one that we kind of were looking at there.
Manasseh was the younger brother, I think.
Yeah, so Manasseh and Ephraim, right? But and then Jacob switched his hands for the blessing.
Yeah, he switched his hands. He did that thing again.
That's right. So he kind of switched it over there. So here they give a lot of evidence that they would say to support that they are from the tribe of Dan in Denmark. So that's intriguing. I mean, names come from somewhere, and they always seem to keep their roots, like the Russians with Rosh and everything. I mean, there's a lot of connections.
Somebody traced the language of the Scandinavians, and they showed how the language evolved.
That's interesting. Let me read this. Genesis 49 says, Dan will be a serpent by the roadside, a viper along the path that bites the horse's heels so that its rider tumbles backward. Very similar to Jesus, crushing the head of the serpent as talked about in Genesis with Adam and Eve in the garden. So, so interesting things about Dan. And then Ephraim, too, I think has some sort of negative connotations going on there. So if we go over to Revelation 7, we see that Dan gets removed. The other thing is they worshipped an idol that Dan had made, if I remember correctly, as well, like ephod or something that he had. I know they did that with Gideon, but I believe they did something like that with Dan also. But yeah, here are the 12 tribes. You've got Judah, Reuben, Gad, Asher, Naphtali, Manasseh, Simeon, Levi, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin. So you don't have Ephraim and you don't have Dan in there anymore. So that's kind of intriguing. Good one. Interesting. Okay, other thoughts, other comments. Keep them coming.
Let's see. I saw someone add up the years that when Ephraim of the curse, and then he was going to be times 7 or something, and he brought it all the way to 2018. That was when the curse was lifted.
What curse?
There was a curse that Ephraim and one of the other tribes they didn't repent, and then there was a curse put on them, and he said, and if they didn't repent, there's going to be times 7.
Oh, interesting. So it came up to 2018.
Yeah, that's when it was lifted.
That's interesting because that's actually the year that we had calculated back a couple of years ago when we were looking at the blood moon. I think it was of 2022. We're looking at the blood moon and the connections there and going back. It's hard to believe it's been that long. Was that 2 years ago? Man. But
that's longer than that.
Yeah, that blood moon that was on the same day that Israel became a nation, and when you counted back, there was a connection. 2018 was when Israel was 70 years old, right? So
interesting.
So yeah, that's kind of cool.
Wow.
The Bible says about the drunkards of Ephraim, cursed is the one who treats his father or his mother with contempt. Ephraim is under divine punishment. Cursed. Deuteronomy 27:16. Wow. That's interesting. So yeah. So is there a connection there between the Danites and the Ephraimites? Other thoughts?
Was there a tribe that went to Ireland? I heard about that too. Paul was saying something about that, but have you ever heard of that?
I don't. I mean, I've heard in general that they kind of all spread out everywhere through Europe, but I don't know specifically. Other thoughts? Ephraim. Where did it say Deuteronomy? Am I misreading that? Deuteronomy.
Hey, Mikhail. Ephraim is mentioned in, oh my goodness, is it chapter 34 of Ezekiel? The bloodlines of Ephraim. It doesn't say the bloodline, it says a stick. Ezekiel's to write Ephraim on one hand, and put it in one hand, then write Judah on another stick, and then combine the two in one hand.
Grafting.
Yeah, it's Ezekiel 34.
Okay, I'll go there next. So Deuteronomy 27:16 says, why am I not seeing Ephraim here? I just saw it over here. 27. Hold on a second. Says Ephraim is cursed is the one who chooses father or mother with contempt. Ephraim is under divine punishment, cursed because parents are cursed. Let me back this up here. Isaiah 28, the drunkards of Ephraim. Isaiah 28:1. Okay, let me just look at this real quick and then we'll go over to that one. So Isaiah 28:1. Okay, Isaiah 28:1 says, woe to that wreath, the pride of Ephraim's drunkards, to the fading flower, his glorious beauty, set on the head of a fertile valley, to that city, the pride of those laid low by wine. So Ephraim's drunkards, okay. Presenting Ephraim's drunkards. Dun, 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 dun. That wreath, the pride of Ephraim's drunkards, will be trampled underfoot. Wow, okay. So much for Ephraim. Okay, so what was the other one? Ezekiel 34?
I think that's what he said. Ezekiel 34, 36. I remember he said, I don't remember.
It's kind of what happened to Noah. He became a drunkard there.
Yeah, it's 34. It's about halfway through.
Do you remember the verse, or this is about Ephraim, right?
Oh, man. I start scrolling. I'll know it when you get to it. Because he goes through the trampling.
But does it name Ephraim in there?
Yeah, just keep scrolling.
Because it's not showing up on my page when I do a word search there.
Maybe it's 37 then.
Okay.
Hold on. Go up just a little bit. It might be chapter 37. I don't know. I can't. This David reference comes up in one of the, or in both of these. But.
All right. Let's see what's going on here. Ephraim. Okay, here we got some Ephraim action. Son of man, take a stick of wood and write on it belonging to Judah and the Israelites associated with him. Then take another stick of wood and write on it Ephraim's stick belonging to Joseph and all the house of Israel associated with him. So there you go. There's Joseph replacing Ephraim, as we see in Revelation 7. That's happening right here.
Well, Ephraim was the one that got the blessing, right? So I'm going to guess that he was kind of the snotty little younger brother that would have gotten.
Does he have to be snotty and little? I mean,
and
what's up with this?
What's that?
I'm just sticking up for little brothers. That's all. You know.
Right. Well,
go ahead,
I mean, me too, I guess. But that's just kind of what I'm going to guess, because he would have been Joseph, who would have been Jacob's favorite anyway, and then the favorite of the favorite grandson of Joseph. You know what I mean? Where he would have probably been somewhat entitled. And I know that they were spoken ill of, like you're going back to the drunkards of Ephraim, right? Before in Isaiah. Like they were kind of looked down upon. And like I've kind of come to understand that this is kind of Ephraim's redemption story, where that line is vindicated, if you will, through that. And that's probably why Jacob blessed Ephraim, because he probably had visions and things about it that he saw that somehow through that line that this story in Ezekiel would start to play out. So this is a really very, very interesting story, because this is the Valley of the Dry Bones is before this.
Right.
And then we come in this.
Let me read this verse here. It says, this is what the sovereign Lord says, I'm going to take the stick of Joseph, which is in Ephraim's hand, and of the Israelite tribes associated with him, and join it to Judah's stick, making them a single stick of wood, and they will become one in my hand. Now, Judah does have a tribe there in Revelation 7, but Ephraim no longer does. So that's interesting. And that, again, is tying back to well, I guess not Dan, but I guess the whole Ephraim situation there. Okay, interesting. Other thoughts on that? Or other questions or other topics you want to hit on before we wrap this up today? So what do we cover here? So we're talking a little bit about the Doomsday Clock. We talked a little bit about the Super Bowl. Oh, the Super Bowl, right? So we got the Super Bowl, February 11th. So everybody was looking at January 11th this month, right? That didn't happen. But was it a month warning? This whole connection with the blood moons, everything tying to January 11th, were we getting like a month, kind of foreshadowing in any way, or is there no connection? What's going on with February 11th and the fact that the fig tree generation ended in 2022, 2 years ago, technically on that day. You also had the invasion that took place on February 11th on the Julian calendar. Here you've got the same two teams that were part of the blackout back in 2013. The Year of the Dragon starts the day before. Technically, you can even say the day out. I mean, depending on how you look at the time there, what time it is in China versus where it is in America. Interesting. Any thoughts on that one?
I wonder how it ties to Dark Winter.
Going to be a dark winter. Right.
The Virgin Mary was supposedly spotted near Lourdes on February 11th.
And it's the Ravens playing, right?
The Raven. Oh, it's the Ravens playing.
No, they're playing. I'm just putting the thing together. The Crows.
Right, the Crows and the Ravens. Yeah, no, I'm there. I'm there. I'm so there.
Are you? Are you really?
I really am. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing with the birds. The birds. Right. So Alfred Hitchcock, the birds. They had the crows or the Ravens. I mean, they're kind of different. I guess crows and ravens are not the same, but similar type of bird.
Pretty close.
The black.
They could have been.
They could have been ravens. They could have been crows, I suppose. The Black Crows. That's a band. So you got the Black Ravens, but you got the Ravens and the 49ers. Is there anything with the number 49? 49er, and you got the Ravens, and then you had all these crows that suddenly appeared in Texas recently. If you look for a video on that, you'll see all these crows coming in.
Okay, with this the Super Bowl thing.
Yeah.
Guys, the Super Bowl thing, Like there's speculation, like they're doing the playoffs right now. There's speculation that because of the color scheme that they have set up for the logo this year, that it's going to be the Ravens and the 49ers. And I just checked the scores. Both of them won their games today or yesterday or whatever, but there's still like another round or something to play. So I don't know. I don't really follow this crap, but that's what I've heard. They're speculating it will be the 49ers versus the Ravens for Super Bowl whatever.
I see. Right. And they always seem to pick the color. They just happen to pick the right color, the same color that the teams are actually going to be for the game. And they pick it like a year in advance, but then they've gone through all the past years, and it always seems to line up with the actual two teams that play. Seem to have the same colors as the logo that they end up using.
What does LV stand for?
That's what is that? 50 or
58.
58.
58.
Yeah. So
L is 50.
So L is 50, and then 5, the V, and then the 3 is the 8. Makes 8.
I see. I thought it was Las Vegas. I don't know.
Could be. Maybe there's a double meaning there. But yeah, the Ravens closing gap on 49ers. So that is kind of intriguing that you've got the black ravens falling from heaven, or crows, and then you've like the birds, and then you've got the ravens perhaps in the 49ers. So that's interesting.
That number 49 means something. I forgot what it means. 49.
9 plus
7
4
times
is
7.
13. I don't know
It's
if
the
that means
Shemitah
anything.
cycle. Right?
The what?
It's the Shemitah
Oh,
cycle.
the Shemitah cycle.
So it'd be
Right, the 490
50
years, the
would
super
be-
duper Shemitah. Right.
Yeah, the 50th year would be the whatever.
That's right,
The 50th year, but 49 would be 7 by 7.
Great point. That's right. 7 times 7 Shemitah cycles is 49. And same thing with 49 days for for Pentecost. We've got the 49, the 7 weeks, and then we get the 7 weeks of years, and then we get the super duper Shemitah, which is 490 years, which is what Jesus said. How often should I forgive my brother? 7 times. No, 70 times 7, which is 490 years. And that's the super duper cycle that we've talked before.
Does this Sunday night live show have a deeper meaning itself?
I think so.
I think so.
I don't know if we've discovered it yet, but it's there. I can feel it. Yeah, I mean, you just never know. But 49, that's perfect. And the Ravens. And the Raven, of course, is associated with death, like Edgar Allan Poe, the Raven. He's kind of a famous one there. So that's kind of interesting, too. So Chinese New Year on the 10th, and Edgar Allan Poe on the 11th. What does it mean?
So I found Tiberius Claudius Caesar Britannicus, heir to the Roman emperorship, dies under mysterious circumstances in Rome and clears the way for Nero to become emperor on 211.
Okay, hold that thought for a second, because now I gotta share this with you. Edgar Allan Poe wrote this famous poem called "The Raven." It says, "Once upon a midnight dreary." Okay, so we all know midnight. The clock. They're going to share the clock here in a second. It's about to strike midnight. Jesus is supposed to return at midnight, or at least prophetically. The bridegroom comes at midnight, and that's when the clock rings out. So the raven, once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door, "only this and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the black December." Ooh, the black December, like the dark winter. "And each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore." Well, maybe we should look that up. What's Lenore? "Nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, 'tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door." Jesus, I stand at the door and knock. Whoever opens, to me, I will come in and eat with him and he with me. But of course, here you've got the raven knocking at your door. You've got Satan knocking at, it goes back to Genesis 1. Sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must master it. This it is and nothing more. Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. Sir, said I, or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there and nothing more. Say, don't open that door, guys. Just to be clear. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, Lenore. What is this? Is this an ad for furniture or something? What was Lenore? This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word Lenore. Is that an acronym? Does Lenore, if you rearrange
I think
it?
Lenore was his wife or like an ex-love. Right?
But what is it to us? Maybe there's something. Maybe there's more. Maybe there's more to Lenore. Merely this and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. Surely, said I, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what threat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat and nothing more. Then this ebony bird, beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's plutonium shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marvel, nevermore. So it's kind of like the end of the world, nevermore. Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse. Does this go on forever? How long is this poem? Oh, this is a long poem.
Did it say plutonium?
Well, I think I'm about halfway. Let's see. Plutonium. Yeah, it did say that, didn't it? Oh, we got to be careful what we're saying here.
You're reading it real good too.
It did say something like that, didn't it? Let's see.
You just passed it.
I just passed
it. It was near your blue, right there. Nice plutonium.
Oh, you're right. Whoa. Sum of all fears, guys. Remember the sum of all fears? That was the other one I brought up earlier. Let me see if I still have that open here somewhere.
And you know what the Super Bowl that had the blackout, they were actually supposed to play in New Orleans, but it was right same time as Mardi Gras. So that's why they moved it. So which Mardi Gras is the start of the Lenten season, which is a religious thing.
Wow.
And then San Francisco is St. Francis. Could that be pointing to Pope Francis? I don't know.
So that's where they're doing it, right? Super Bowl, San Francisco? Is that what
yes.
Yeah.
In Alliance Stadium, I think somebody put that.
Alliance Stadium?
Form an alliance.
Yeah, Dino said that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll look at that in just a second. Let me finish this one. So, quote the raven nevermore. Says, much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore, for we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door with such name as nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster till his songs one burden bore. Okay, so an unmerciful disaster. That's what we're waiting for, right? when they're saying peace and safety, suddenly an unmerciful disaster, and he'll interrupt their feasts. Perhaps a Super Bowl is kind of a feast. Everybody has a Super Bowl party, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of never, never more. But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking, nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining with my head at ease reclining. I feel like Willy Wonka, on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from the unseen censer. I mean, this is probably the kind of stuff that the Cabal reads, for fun. This is what they do during their seances and things. Let's read The Raven swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite and nepenthe. Well, what does nepenthe mean? From thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil. Whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed he there here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? That's the Bible. Is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil. By that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aden it shall clasp a sainted maiden. Ooh, a sainted maiden. Is that the woman from Revelation 12? Whom the angels named Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels named Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. By that word, our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting, get thee back into the tempest and the night's plutonium shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take my beak from out of my heart. Take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven never flitting. Oh, here we go. This is the end. And the raven never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas. Oh, Pallas. We should look that up too. Just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming. And the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. Whoa, okay. My soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor. So now it's like almost like rapture, your body, like you're disembodied here. Shadow on the floor. Wow, guys, there's a lot in there. So we could spend a whole time just digging into that one. That is very interesting. And that's The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Interesting. Well, thank you for humoring me as I read that, but I thought there might be some intriguing stuff. And there were some things that we should probably look into.
Seems to me this guy was doing a lot of drugs.
He's craving the raven.
I'm pretty sure he was doing lots of drugs because he had the Telltale Heart, and that one's way messed up.
Yeah. I mean, he's known for his dark poems, that's for sure. Once upon a midnight dreary. Once upon a midnight dreary. Well, that's interesting. So midnight is the time. Well, there you go, guys. The Ravens. Any other thoughts or comments here, or what did you bring up there, Ori? You had something.
Oh, I was just I had found on February 11th that Tiberius Claudius Caesar Britannicus was the heir to the Roman emperorship and died mysteriously in Rome, which cleared the way for Nero to become emperor.
Is that where we get the name Britain from? Britannicus?
Maybe.
So you're saying Emperor Britannicus.
Uh-huh.
And what was this? What was the situation with this guy on February 11th? He died?
He died mysteriously so that Nero.
And he was
take
born on
emperorship.
February 12th, and he died on February 11th. What?
Crazy.
Sweet Britannicus. There it is. Tiberius Claudius Caesar Britannicus, usually called Britannicus, was the son of Roman Emperor Claudius and the third wife. For a time, he was considered his father's heir. He was born February 12th, AD 41, and died February 11th, AD 55. Wow. That's pretty wild. And then it's Britannicus. And of course, Britain is coming to the forefront with Chucky and everything else. And also Britain is kind of known, another one where they're talking about the lost sheep of Israel, perhaps going the Edomites and maybe even the Ephraimites. That's interesting. So he died mysteriously, huh? Anything else about his mysterious death you want to point out?
Didn't Nero kind of murder his way to the crown of Rome? Like, it seems to me, because he's the story where he burnt the city center of Rome and played his fiddle so he could rebuild like a palace and a bath and private stuff and like displaced a bunch of people. Like, Nero was not a very good person.
Yeah, they just it just went downhill. It's like every successive. Well, I guess Caligula's in there too, so he's pretty bad news too. But there was a lot of those guys that were just really messed up. I think they were drinking all that lead out of those lead glasses, man. That made them all go crazy. They did some wild stuff. So Nero.
So it's rumored that he died of poison.
So Britannicus had 4 siblings. He died before Britannicus was born. Sister named mother, who was adopted and renamed Nero. Okay, so there's a son who's adopted and renamed Nero? Lucius? Oh, he's actually an adopted son. He's not even a legitimate. Obviously, I don't want to say he's illegitimate, but he wasn't bloodline, I guess. A bloodline son. That's interesting. Intriguing. Wow, the plot does indeed thicken. Well, guys, this has been interesting. Are there any other ones we want to add quick before we end our YouTube? We'll keep talking here. If you found this interesting and want to continue this conversation, come on over to the fellowship. Just come to the first link, in the description of the video, also on the screen here, MakayoMinistries.com. You can join us for free. Just come on over. There's a bunch of us over here right now hanging out and chatting, and we'll probably talk a little bit longer here about other things and any questions and thoughts people have. So we hope you'll join us over here. We usually do an hour on YouTube, and then we'll do the rest over here. So we hope you'll come over. Thanks so much for being part of tonight's Sunday Night Live. We never know where it's going to go. We never know what we're going to talk about. It's always interesting. People bring up different things, and we all go and we just follow the Spirit and go in different directions. So I hope this was edifying for you and you found it intriguing. Also, join us tomorrow, Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern here for discipleship class. And we're helping to make disciples who make disciples and to help save this world before Jesus comes back. So I hope you'll come and be part of that as well. Love you guys. And again, we're just ending here on YouTube. We'll continue here in the fellowship. I hope you join us. But wishing you all the best and all the blessed, and Maranatha.